welcome back. It's another episode of Let's Be Real. I'm Tara.
And I'm Sheri.
And we're two Florida LCSWs talking about mental health stuff. And today, one of our recurring topics, which always in a new frame and in a new light.
Right.
But Sheri, take it away, because
it just keeps coming back to me. I cannot get away from it. I'm just going to knock on some wood here. So if you're wondering what that noise was. So narcissism, personality disorders, why are they so apparent right now? Why are they on every TikTok and reel? And part of that is because that's apparently my algorithm. Everybody knows that's what I'm
You're
looking
responsible for your own free page.
I am responsible for what crap is coming my way. But it's not only that. I have a lot of clients that come to me that are dealing with somebody like that in their life. And because I've dealt with that in my life with multiple partners in my life that but where I vowed I would not use that word again. But because I felt like every time I said that word, it came back tenfold to me.
Like
so I was like,
Beetlejuice.
stop saying the word, right? Yeah. But then it keeps coming back to me
regardless,
in this sense, right? Like I feel like maybe this has happened as it's my calling to deal with people who've had to endure this, because there's a reason why we gravitate, or these people gravitate to us. Because it's easy to be love bombed, and it's easy to for us to be wanted, and for people, and I'm saying this specifically from me, right? But I see it in a lot of my clients. They'll come and say, I don't understand why I keep finding myself in these situations. And I'm easily on the other side with my therapist saying the same thing. Like, why do we find these people who feel that it's okay to treat us this way, right? And so it's not necessarily, the reason why I'm bringing this is not necessarily to continue to bash the narcissists themselves, but what are we doing that allows that to continue to be something that we find ourselves in? You know, for me, I find that, that first time, shame on you. Second time, shame on you. Third time, I even gave a second time that it's their fault, right? Now, the third time, damn shame on me, right? Like, there's a time when I have to take responsibility for what I allow in my life, right? Sure. I've already taught those people in my life that that's how they can treat me, because I continued to allow it. So we talked about earlier, whether in another episode, whether or not we allow, whether you come here to be coddled. Well, no. So we're not coddlers. But at this, so I'm not saying this so that you feel bad about how other people treated you, because they already did that enough to you by saying it's your fault, right? But the idea is we have to make a decision at one point where our boundaries are. Why are we stepping over our boundaries? I mean, full on like cattle driving over these things, right? To get to somebody who pretended that they loved us so much. Right? They might not have pretended. They might have really felt that way.
Sure.
I'm not saying that that person didn't love you or love me. It's the idea that they can't give me what I need, that I'm trying to desperately get from them, right? By making things better for them, by, walking on eggshells and all the other things that we tolerate because we want somebody to care about us in a way that they're not able to. So again, this is not bashing them. This is the idea of understanding why we allow ourselves at a certain point. It becomes us that says, oh, hello, you let them to a certain point, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so like that first time you pick up a drink, if you know you're an alcoholic, that first time after you've been sober for a while, that first time you pick up a drink, it's your choice, right? After that, okay, if you believe in the addictive personality, it's no longer
the addicted brain, and how
right,
that
and
works.
that's no longer your, it's the alcohol that took over, okay? But you had a choice whether to pick up that first glass, right? So it's the same thing. If I meet somebody and I get those vibes and I get that in me, my intuition screaming, Sheri, run, or why am I tolerating this person, or what just happened, or a red flag like is going woo woo woo, and I'm going, oh, it's no big deal. Everything else is so nice. He's an alcoholic. That's not a problem. I can handle that. bitch, run, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to bring this up, because it is such a pervasive thing. And it's not just that there's a million narcissists out there. I mean, there's people who have just tendencies, and then there's people who are full blown, right?
Yeah.
But it's also, if you don't mesh with a personality, leave.
It's okay.
You don't have to get that person to be like you.
Yeah.
And or to get you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the hardest part, is that people want somebody to get them.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we stay longer, and we say, if you would just understand what I'm trying to say.
Right.
They're not going to.
They don't have
Narcissists or not.
They don't
right?
have to.
They don't have to. And if they can't get you, why are you there?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I'm saying this to myself too, right? Like, I have this big old mirror in front of my face that says, Sheri, there were certain things that were said or done. At that point, we should have said, walk away.
Yeah.
Right? But we say, why? But they're also this way. But I don't want to lose this piece. I don't want to lose that piece. Mm-hmm. But if staying for that piece means that you are going to lose your piece, then you need to go.
Yeah.
So listen to your intuition. And I think that's the thing that we all forget, right? As a woman, and men, right? But as a woman, we have, and we're known for having intuition that screams at us.
Yes.
Right? Centuries we've been saying, oh, well, I knew that this was happening, but I wanted to keep a blind eye to it because that's my husband or that's my whatever, right? But, oh, if I just look past it, everything will be okay. That's normal. That's normal for a man to want to walk out on a woman. Or I'm not saying that's specifically what happened to me. I'm just saying, like, we all make excuses for people.
Yeah.
And we need to stop making excuses for people and recognizing, why are you feeling that way?
Yeah.
If you notice that there's something really happening, talk to that person. If you feel like you're hitting a wall, literally, it's time to go.
Yeah.
Don't go to the next step. Don't let them move into your house. Don't let them do things that, we think, oh, we're, a strong, independent woman. That's not going to happen to me. Well, I'm sorry. That doesn't, yes, I am a strong, independent woman, but that still happened to me. Right. So reminding yourself what it is that you're walking over. If you're saying, no, I'm not going to do this, but you're charmed into doing it, you need to walk away.
Yeah. And I'm kind of hearing some themes of, like, barrier to entry as well, right? Like, not make it difficult to be with you or make it difficult to have access to you, but making it clear what your expectations are, that they're not easy to achieve. It's okay to, how do I want to word this? Well, it's okay to make it difficult for your person. But
it's boundaries versus walls, right?
Yes.
So it's okay to have boundaries and say, no, I'm sorry, I'm not comfortable with that. Right? And stick to it. And if that person is okay with, if that person continues to try to push your boundary, that person's not for you because they don't respect you.
Right.
If you're, if they're saying, okay, no worries, you know what? If you're not comfortable with that, we're not going to do that. Or maybe in the future you might be comfortable with that.
Yeah. Right.
But I think that all depends on the interaction. If I feel respected and loved, right? There's a really good book called Love and Respect. Learning the difference between what women need desperately is love and what men desperately need is respect. Right? And that's not saying that a woman doesn't want respect, because absolutely we do, but we find it in a different way.
Yes. It's manifested differently.
Right.
And on our priority scales, it may be different. Just like with love languages, right? Just because gift giving is my last love language doesn't mean, like I'm going to stomp it into the ground because I refuse gifts. No, it's just my least favorite.
Right.
It is a favorite. It is the least favorite.
Exactly.
But just love and respect. So many of us think that they go together, they're intertwined, they're interchangeable, and that's not the case. They show up differently for all of us.
Absolutely.
And how we act on it and how we want to receive it.
Exactly. Agreed. And I heard this statement earlier from a client the other day who his wife said this to him. And so I'm not taking credit for it, but it really made me think, like, in couple situations, right? We want so many things from our partner. And so many of us say, you don't understand what it is I'm asking you for, or I ask you for this, but you're doing this, and that's not what I asked for. Or when somebody says to you, but I do all these things for you. Why don't you see that? So what the wife said to the client was, I'm asking you for apples, and you gave me oranges. You may have taken 3 hours to get those oranges, but I needed apples.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that all this effort that you did for oranges was amazing, and why don't you get that I brought you oranges? I didn't need oranges. I appreciate the oranges, but that's not what I needed. I needed apples. So being able to speak to your partner in that kind of way of, these are the type of things that I need, or even by showing them, because if I go and say, oh my God, thank you so much for giving me the oranges. I love the oranges. Thank you so much. But you don't freaking want the oranges. That is not what you needed. But now he saw that you said, give me some more oranges, and you needed apples.
Yeah.
Desperately.
Well, now you're abandoning your own needs too.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you're abandoning your own values, your own needs in a relationship.
Right.
There's a very popular scene from the movie The Breakup with Jennifer Aniston and Vince Vaughn.
Oh, yes.
Where they're having a dinner party and she wanted to make a centerpiece with like 12 lemons. And I think he brings like 2 lemons or 3 limes or something like that. And I mean, there's a lot of the dialogue in that. I did not like the movie the first time I watched it, but I don't think I had ever been in a relationship at that point, to be fair.
That's why it's not relatable, right?
Yeah, I was like, this is dumb. But now
you understand why she wanted those damn 12 lemons.
Now these conversations hit a little different.
Right.
So she has a vision. She wants these things, and she's asking for help from her partner to get it done. And Vince Vaughn was coming up with 1,001 reasons as to why he did what he did, and it's enough. Exactly. Right? And she's like, I don't know how to explain to you what I wanted and what my vision is without you like trying to stand next to me and saying it side by side with me. And the other famous conversation of,
I love that.
I want you to want to do the dishes.
Exactly.
It's not about the dishes.
Absolutely. I can't tell you how many times I have said that, specifically in my first marriage, right? Like, I want you to want to be this person, or I want you to want to go with me. I don't want you to just be there.
Yeah.
I want you to want to be part of this.
Right.
And I had a very unrealistic expectation, right? I had an expectation of something that he couldn't meet.
Yeah.
And that's okay for me I realize that now. It took a lot of banging my head in the wall to recognize that. Yeah. That I want, when I meet somebody, if they don't want certain things that I want, or certain things aren't important, that I'm not going to say, oh, that's all right.
Yeah.
No, it's not all right, because I have to know from the beginning that we're going to be compatible, because I can't change you. And like when you marry somebody when you're really young, like I got married when I was 22, I had an expectation that we were going to grow the same. Yeah. Or that we wanted the same thing. We totally didn't, right? We totally didn't grow the same way, which that's what happens. Yeah. But when you're in your 40s and you get married, you're expecting that person is that way. And okay, I'm this way. I'm not going to change for anybody, but I want you to change for me, right? That's so unrealistic. So finding, the things, nobody's perfect. So that's another thing in the back of your head saying, nobody's perfect, so can I at least tolerate this? Yep. Right? It's true. Nobody is perfect. You're never going to find your perfect match.
But you don't want to be comparing your expectations in a marriage or in a relationship to tolerance.
Exactly. Thank you.
You want desire. You want enthusiasm. You want willingness, right? Not everything is going to be enthusiastic. Not everything is going to be desirable. Like, no one wants to do the dishes. Like, there may be aspects of the dishes that people are like, cleaning is therapeutic. We could talk to you off air, because
when
questions.
I'm angry and I'm cleaning, Sheri's angry. That's about it.
Right. I have questions. Like, once I get started, my ADHD brain is very much like, okay, we can keep this. We can keep these good vibes going.
Yeah, the music better be loud. Yeah.
Bad Bunny. I need something to keep it
something
to keep it swaying.
Yeah,
keep it moving.
Bad Bunny's a good one for that.
But to do the dishes because it takes a load off of your partner, and then there can be, I love praise. Like, yeah, I'm a big fan of telling people just say thank you for everything. It seems like overkill. I don't want to have to say thank you for little things. Like, what does it cost you?
Exactly.
What
What
does
does
that
it
cost
cost you?
you?
People want to be appreciated
Yeah.
and feel appreciated.
And if 2 words, thank you, can help them feel appreciated, you don't have to plan a getaway trip. You don't have to,
Exactly.
take the kids out of the house for a weekend. You don't have to, you can say thank you for every little thing. If that's
Yeah.
inconvenient, I'm really curious about what's convenient for your life.
Exactly. Well, and that's the thing is that's when you're doing it out of resentment,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
There's a good one, yeah.
people have so much resentment about why didn't you do this?
Mhm.
Well, and I don't want to have to tell them. I shouldn't have to tell them. That's a big thing I hear.
Ugh.
I shouldn't have to tell him what should be done around here.
Mhm.
Well, how did you know what to do around here?
Mhm.
Just because you knew what was important to you doesn't mean it's important to them,
Yeah.
right? And they should just see that that's on the floor. It should be picked up. Well, what if they did the trash and didn't see that, and maybe they thought you were going to pick that up,
Yeah.
right? You thought they were going to pick it up, and so we go back and forth, and it becomes nobody picks it up,
Mhm.
and then we're all just resentful and we hate each other.
Yeah.
So again, that was the allure in my second marriage, that he would do those things.
Mhm.
I didn't have to ask for anything,
Yeah.
right? But then it's thrown back in your face. So I don't want that either. That's the oranges. I didn't ask for that shit, right? So don't come back to me and say, I gave you fucking oranges, lady, right?
Yeah.
I wanted apples.
Yep.
Right? Or I want you to treat me with kindness. And because that's your job, but that's your love language is an act of service.
Yes.
The act of service shouldn't be thrown back at you.
Right.
That's not a love language. That's manipulation,
Correct.
right? So that's what we have to understand is that, yes, opposites attract for a reason, but they attract like moth to a flame.
Yeah.
Not in a good way.
Right.
So that moth is going there and he's going to burn his wings off, okay? So the attraction to something opposite of you does not mean that you have to be in it.
Or the opposite of what you're used to experiencing.
And that's okay, right?
Mhm.
Because I want the opposite of what I've been experiencing.
Not entirely.
Well,
Otherwise, you wouldn't have been attracted to that in the first place. There's
True.
some value there, right?
Absolutely. There's definitely value in both of those major relationships,
Mhm.
right? There's value in every relationship I've
Correct.
ever had, right?
Correct.
So
I know we don't always like looking at them that way, but
well, you're right, because if I looked at it that there wasn't, that would have meant especially like my first marriage, that I would have wasted a lot of time,
Sure.
right? I mean, from 22 to 40, that's a long time,
Mhm.
right? To be with a person. I don't really, what's the word? I don't negate any of that,
yeah.
right? So, things change and things evolve, and that one I definitely, that's your first marriage. It's very different,
Exactly.
right?
But what you were getting 10% of from that marriage, and then you get 90% in your second, doesn't mean that everything else is 100%, right?
Exactly.
I hear that a lot when it comes to infidelity. People stepping out of their marriage because there's one gap.
Yep.
And it's a major gap for them.
Right.
Valid. But they see somebody that fills that gap that they were looking for in their spouse, their current partner.
Right.
And that little gap is embodied in that one person. They don't have anything else that you love about your spouse. They don't embody any of those other things. But because you're missing something and you found it in somebody else, it becomes that much more. It's that cognitive dissonance, right? It's moving from one thing to another and making that have more significance than it needs to.
Absolutely.
So including with comparing partners, comparing exes, which is, essentially what we're talking about right now.
Or when somebody passes away and all you think of is all the wonderful things, but it's like, whoa, dude, that person was a jerk. Jerk, alive.
Oh, but you're not allowed to say that.
You're not allowed to say that, right?
Ugh.
Because that's another cognitive dissonance, right? This person is no longer here. So why should I speak ill of the dead, right?
Mhm.
It doesn't, so it's this idea that we have this, what's a no-no
Mm-hmm.
in our brains, what's not okay to say, what's not okay to say. I won't tolerate that, right? And let me explain to all the men and women out there that when you say, I'm not going to tolerate this anymore, and you're on year 4 that you've been saying that, right?
What are they supposed
year
to believe?
5, year 10, whatever year you're on, and you say, I'm not going to tolerate this. What did your actions go along with your statement? You said, please give me another.
Yeah.
You say, give me more.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to come right back. It's like, Pavlov's dog,
Yeah.
right? So if I keep saying, I won't tolerate this anymore, or I'm not going to do this anymore, or no, I'm not okay with this, and I keep, and
you're
neither
not
one of
cashing
us,
out.
right? Neither one of us are doing anything to make anything different, but then I keep coming back and saying the same thing. I'm telling that person, please treat me this way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've taught a lot of people to treat me that way.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. So I take ownership of that I have to show from the very beginning that no, this is not okay. Right. This is not something that I want in a relationship. So those are the reasons why I bring that up. Not to bash my ex-husbands, not to bash any people I've been with in my life. Although this might come back to smack me in the face one way or another, but that's okay. But ultimately the idea is so that people can hear that, yes, we hear about all the bad things about a narcissist or these relationships and what men do to women or women do to men. But we all have to remember that we have responsibility and accountability for our own actions.
Yes.
And I've said it many times that the best apology is changed behavior, right? Yeah. So I have to do that as well, right? I'm sorry that I allowed this to continue, so I'm going to change my behavior and no longer accept certain things.
Good.
So
excellent. Thank
you very much. We all just had a very good Sheri therapy session.
Therapy.
Therapy.
Did that.
Therapy 101. There you go.
101. I love it. But it's valuable, invaluable. It's the principles of if we're going to keep talking about narcissism, and it's going to be a buzzword that's sticking through right now, which is fine. I mean, it's valid to not accept behavior.
Right.
Like you said, what do you do to encourage that behavior? And defensively, most people will be like, that's on them.
Well, it is on them, but at some point it becomes on us.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly that.
Right? Because then eventually that behavior becomes that you're allowing the small behaviors turn into big behaviors, and then it becomes that you're in an abusive relationship, and now you're knocked down so much that you really can't get out.
Yeah.
Without, like, as we talked to our with Leah in one of our episodes, right? You get to the point where you feel like you have no choice but to stay.
Right.
That nothing else good is going to happen after that. That's not true. I mean, Leah's doing really well, and look what she came from, right? So reminding yourself that the reason why you're saying no to these things in the beginning and to not let them grow is so you don't get into that space. And it doesn't mean that person's going to have to beat you physically in order for you to be at a bad spot and not want to leave. That person can verbally abuse you or put you in a space where you feel like you have no other option.
Well, even before it gets to that point,
that's what I'm saying. Right.
It's okay to say that this person isn't for me.
Absolutely.
Before any red flag is even shown.
Right.
Right. They talk to their mother in this kind of way, which I guess could be that would be a red flag. Or, I don't like this tendency that they have, or I don't like the way that they communicate this.
Right.
Obviously, your responsibility is to communicate the things that don't gel with you.
Right. And you know what? Again, when we talked about boundaries, you don't have to tell them, I'm sorry, we don't connect. That's okay.
You don't have to.
Right? Like
don't ghost people. That's a really shitty thing to do. But
yeah, just tell them, no, I'm sorry, we don't connect. Right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you that people put out their red flags pretty quick.
They do.
It doesn't, unless you're dealing with somebody who's love bombing you. And then by the time you get to the point where they're
dust is settled,
yeah, and then you're like, holy shit, what just happened? Right? It's still okay to leave then.
It is.
It's still okay to leave
always,
then.
Any reason is an okay, valid reason to leave. Any reason at all.
Right. And we're not the Catholic Church. You can leave.
That's true. You have permission.
Yes.
You've heard about my cynicism when it comes to dating and relationships. Hear me when I tell you, it's not supposed to work. Just statistically, based on numbers alone, it's not supposed to work out.
It really is amazing that anybody is married.
Right.
We don't think the same way. No. Even if you have two of the same sex, it's not just about man versus woman.
Right.
I know we've talked about this many times. It's about human beings living in the same space, trying to connect. Sometimes we just don't get it.
We grew up in completely different situations.
Right. And what's
Grew up
important
in the
to
same
me
situation, that's kind of weird. So
well, then that's right.
that's another episode.
Yeah, that's one I don't want to have.
Yeah, that's a phone call. That's a phone call.
Yeah.
My point being, to come from such different backgrounds and then to combine those backgrounds and to make it make sense is some of the hardest work we insist on doing as human beings, right? To fall in love, to be in love, to live together, to cohabitate. But having different bedrooms is still weird. Having different properties or homes is still weird. Being long distance is weird. Like,
why did we say this, right? Like, one of the things I remember maybe about 7 or 8 years ago, somebody telling me that this big trend was together but apart, right? Living in other places, each having their own home. And that sounds amazing, right? That's what I want. I have my place, you have your place. We see each other whenever, and then, you know, maybe you can come to my house if you want, but you ain't living there and you ain't getting in my shit, right? That just sounds so amazing to me. That doesn't mean that that's what it's gonna be, right? But you know, I make vows to myself constantly, and I never keep them. So who knows?
Well, I like vows. So okay, I'll sign off. Well, we'll sign off. I'll give homework then.
Okay, what's your homework?
Proposed homework. I'm not checking for anything.
Okay,
I'm busy enough. Bill of Rights.
Oh, I like it.
So I don't think I currently have any clients I've done this with, but I have several that I've offboarded, and we the couples work I did do with them was establishing a relationship Bill of Rights.
I love that.
I have the right to communicate things that bother me, and then they can set sub bullet points if they want. Like, this is how I like to be spoken to. These are good like phrases to use, like very therapeutic in terms of like, we've definitely talked out how we want to be spoken to, but that's good intentional work. Absolutely. I have, you know, the right to have my space, or I have the right to have my activities, things that need to be spoken out loud to grant yourself permission with your partner.
I love that.
Also doing a personal Bill of Rights. I have the right to be an individual. Write it out.
I love that.
Write it down.
Okay, I'm doing it.
Happy 2024, y'all. Write it down.
Right. And I will not be making that a resolution. It's just something I will be doing, going about what we just noted. One of our previous episodes. But yes. Okay, good. I love that. Noted. Great way to sound off.
Okay. Good. Any other final thoughts?
No, I think I like that one. We're going to leave on that.
It's personal responsibility. Yeah. Do what you need to do. That's
all I talk about. Personal responsibility. Let's bring it back to
That's why they show up in front of us.
Yes. Now I need to have my own, so I'm ready for it.
Yeah, you mentioning your therapist, I was like, oh gosh, I have to hire another one.
I know.
I don't like it. I got so attached. Anyone in that boat with me? It's the hardest thing. I didn't get broken up with though. So.
Well, that's good. That's good. She didn't fire you.
No,
that's good.
I did not get fired. Thank goodness. But yeah, so homework, you're all on task. Set up your Bill of Rights, make it make sense for you. You do not have to be in a couple to do it. You don't have to do it with your partner or partners. Right. Just let it be how you need it. Do it for you. But as always, links in bio and show description for you guys to find us. Reach out to us. I'll emphasize I don't want to cross-check your work. Please don't send your homework to me. I trust you. You can hire me and Sheri to do that.
That's awesome. I love it.
Maybe that's a special. We should $20 and we'll review your written bill.
There you go.
We'll give you. I'll give you a letter grade.
I love it.
That sounds awful. But otherwise, we will catch you guys next time. Always interact, like, share, follow, subscribe, and see you next week.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.